Oh, it's a tropical planet. It's rocky. Look at that sky. Hello everyone, Thranxes here, and welcome back to No Man's Sky, episode 153, where we're going to finally put some of this high-level manufacturing to use. So off camera, I went ahead and organized my inventory up very nicely here, and I sorted out this. I got some stuff laid out as extras and some stuff taken care of. So one of the things that we're going to need is we're going to need some more condensed carbon for what we're going to do. So we're going to make a little bit extra of that using oxygen, and then we're going to need some extra chlorine. So chlorine you can also make a lot extra of with a little bit of oxygen. Oxygen is just an amazing element for the refiner. You can see this is the same ratio as condensed carbon to oxygen, where you're getting 1 to 6 and 2 to 6. And we'll talk about why we're going to need chlorine here momentarily. But before we do all that, we're going to talk about what we did off camera. Aside from sorting our own personal inventory, we took the time necessary, thanks to our outposts and also using Steve Ruth's garden there a little bit. We've managed to stockpile up all of our storage so that we'll be able to focus on production instead of bouncing around too awful much in this episode. As you can see, everything is pretty much filled up to the brim with everything that we could possibly want. Now, I also, because the ratio of how much fungal mold it takes to make acid, I also went ahead and produced a little bit of extra acid and just threw it on board of our hauler here. So the plan is going to be to make a lot more of these stasis devices and fusion igniters in this episode. But before we start turning our resources into better resources, the first thing we're going to do is swing up to the freighter that we have in orbit and see what our frigate expeditions have come back with, because any high-level alloys that they've gathered will be that much less that we have to produce, and that many more high-level manufacturing items that we'll be able to come out of this with. And since this is likely going to be our last episode here at the factory for some time, I want to try to make as many as possible before we resume our exploration and our journey heading towards the center of the galaxy. I do think before we go there, though, we are going to put a little observatory area in the water base, but we're also going to have to rename a few things. We'll see. I mean, it doesn't really make sense to have our one section called the main base when it's really not a main base at this point. It's just a factory. It's a really big factory, but it doesn't have all the amenities of a nice base. So it's really just going to be our production center. And that's sort of just the way that things have shaken out. Now, let's go over here and start debriefing some of our commanders. Let's make sure our freighter is nice and empty. We do have some tritium. I don't think we really have the dihydrogen to make use of that, right? We do have some dihydrogen jelly we could spin up, but really all that's going to allow us to do is make a little more fuel. And these quad servos, I think we'll hold on to those for now. I know we need them to make some of these, but quad servo and 50 gold, which, yeah, maybe. We'll see. We should be able to accept these, hopefully, and have the inventory space. What we really need is a better freighter. Alright, this is the big expedition. So we're going to be looking at money, iridescite, more money, activated cadmium, lots more money, Gek relic, activated copper, lots more money, iridescite, indium, sac venom, okay, more money. This is going to be a unique item, activated emerald, maybe another unique item, and end the expedition. Wow. What did we get? Splendid rings. And 2.4 million credits. That's pretty good. I don't know if... I mean, we got the last claybane petals. Wow, together that's 1.3. That's not so bad. Well, I think the first thing we're going to do, since we're just swimming in iridescite at this point in time, is we're going to, let's see. Let's take it off the freighter. We'll put it on our exosuit. And then this, much the same way, we're going to put all of this on our exosuits so that we can sort it out. This is another trade item. Trade commodity. It's worth a little bit. It's not really worth a lot, but it is worth a little bit. So we're going to take some of this iridescite and we're going to spin it into platinum, which only one... Wow. So just one iridescite spins up into 250 platinum. Well, that's what we're going to do with it because we are rocking a lot of iridescite at this point. I did want to save it because it's really painful to make, but as long as we keep getting it, it doesn't make sense to stockpile it because we can always use nanites, especially if we're going to be reconstructing what's in our exosuit. So we'll start with making that into 50 nanites, and then same thing. We're going to start here making these into 50 nanites, and we'll get 100 nanites at a pop, which means every iridescite is worth 250 nanites, which is pretty good. I think at this point what we'll do is we'll swing by the trade terminal. I definitely don't think we need any more chromatic metal, so it might be worthwhile just to sell the things we don't need that much of. In fact, I probably should have left them on the freighter. I think let's go ahead and transfer this chromatic metal stuff to the freighter just to make it easier to see what we're trying to sell, because I don't want to dip out of my reserves of chromatic metal or indium. Activated copper. I mean, come on. What are we going to do with that, realistically? And I'm pretty sure the Gek relic is another one of those things we don't need. Oh no, we do. So the Gek relics are actually the ones we need, so we'll go ahead and sit on those. First, let's sell from the freighter, which is going to be, yep, indium, emerald, cadmium, copper. That's pretty good. That was almost 1 million, or it was just slightly over 1 million. Now let's sell our high trade value items, the last claybane petals and splendid rings, and then we'll go ahead and sell our sac venom as well. Alright, let's see what the next expedition has in store for us. So we're looking at units, something unique, more units. Okay, that's really nice and easy. So we got the fresh saber-dew cuttings. Alright. Not bad. More importantly, we got experience for our ships. We got chromatic metal 450, destabilized sodium 19. That's interesting. Albumin pearls 9, activated indium 531. So we really didn't get that many high-value trade items. Not like I thought we would. So we can sell the pearls, we can sell the indium. I want to sell some of this destabilized sodium, but maybe not all of it, so maybe we sell 14. But then that chromatic metal, I can't justify sitting on to that stuff. I have so much chromatic metal stashed in the Colossus. It's ridiculous. It really is. Alright, so let's go ahead and we'll spin up some more platinum. Alright, so a little bit of a bust for what I thought we were going to get. I thought we were going to get more things like nitrogen salt, enriched carbon, things of that nature that we need. It's not the end of the world that we didn't. It's just we're not going to spend much more time up here because there's no reason to. We want to get back down to our factory. So let's look at maybe a long expedition here. A nice long balanced expedition. So I think we'll go with combat, support, exploration, industrial, and trade, which, of course, 600 tons of fuel, that's going to be just fine. On their way they go. Let's see if we have another long mission, potentially, that we can send some ships out on. 1488, 2-star for combat patrol. I don't really... let's go with the balanced expedition. And we'll just kind of do the same thing. So we'll send support, combat, industrial, trade, and exploration. 250 tons. Perfect. Send them on their way. Probably should send a third. But I don't think there was another really good one. There's a short one that's trade, combat, industrial. Let's go with industrial, especially for manufacturing type stuff. Right, so we talk industrial, support. And then who else has good industrial? This trade galleon does. They're not really going to load up, though. We could send a combat frigate for support. Let's see what that puts us at. Fleet rating. So I think we have the mineral compressor, right? That boosts us up to 3 stars. Right, let's do that. Excellent. We'll get some of those C-class out there. All right. So now we've got our frigate expeditions underway. I think we're going to swing over here and we're going to talk to our scientists real quick, because as we've noted in the high-level scans of many different planets, yes, as we noted in the comments, they are fixed. Ehoo! Perfect, traveler. This will greatly aid my research. Please take these nanites. Whoa, that's a lot of nanites. Flagbearer Tumps, we're going to see what kind of multi-tool you have available for us to get for free, although it's generally not very good. An A-class rifle with 16 slots. Just to compare, to put that in perspective, we have an S-class with 16 slots, so unfortunately that's not going to be good enough for us to accept, so we're going to decline it. And then something I've noticed is that my hydroponics bays are now running out of condensed carbon. They need to be refilled, which I'm not really excited about, but that is the way that it goes. I don't know if other people have noticed this as well. I think it might have been a... Oh, okay, and then they're instantaneous? How bizarre. I'm not entirely sure what's causing this, but they seem to be out every time, even if there's not stuff to grow. It's not like we're hurting for condensed carbon, though, so I think we can pretty safely just refuel the ones that we harvest from. I think we'll swing over here. We'll take these nanites, and we'll save the rest of the platinum in our inventory for now, because we don't really need to worry about refining stuff here. We can refine it once we get back down to our factory, because we're going to go into production overdrive and hopefully set ourselves up to have hundreds of millions of units. And I didn't sell that, although I should have. We still have our platinum there. We might need to grab some more oxygen out of our oxygen harvesters. Alright, in any event, let's head back down to our factory. Let's see, which base is mine? It's not going to be that one, it's going to be this one over here, with the messages around it. And I think we want to land here in order to allow ships to land on the other one. But it seems to me like the ships change which one they want to land on. At least that's what I've noticed. Maybe I could be mistaken. I'm not sure what hurt me. It's happened a couple of times, though. Alright, let's grab our oxygen, because we are using that up. And oxygen seemingly makes the world go round with all of the different things that it can give you. And so we want to make sure we have lots and lots of it. Okay, what have we here? More condensed carbon. That's good. Sure, go ahead and continue processing. And then I think we're going to take more chlorine. Sure, go ahead. You can continue processing as well. Now, let's look at our starship. And actually, we should sell these saber dew petals or whatever. There's not much of a benefit in holding on to them. Fresh saber dew cuttings. It's money. Alright, so if we look at our starship, we can see that in order to make more of these devices, one of the first things we're going to need is these quantum processors, which require circuit boards and superconductors. Now, the circuit boards are a combination of plants, both for the polyfiber and the heat capacitor, that require all the plants except gamma weed and fungal mold. So I think the first step is we're just going to go ahead and take, at a 2-to-1 ratio, all of those things out. So it's going to be 2,000 star bulbs, and then it's going to be 1,000 cactus flesh, and that should enable us to make quite a bit of this polyfiber. Alright, and now we're out of cactus flesh, but we did get our 10 polyfiber. The next thing we're going to make is the heat capacitors, which are going to require 1,000 frost crystal and about 2,000 solar vine. Now keep in mind, we built our outposts so that we could harvest up to 2,000 of a resource at a time when we show up there. But I think for the purposes of video editing, we're just going to do that off camera if and when that time comes. So let's make some more heat capacitors, and then we're going to make 5 more. Okay, so that's 5. Now that'll enable us to make 5 circuit boards, or 10 circuit boards, 2 stacks of 5. So let's go ahead and make those. Okay, so now we have 10 circuit boards. Next on our list for this quantum processor are superconductors. So we're going to need 10 superconductors. Those require enriched carbon, which we have none of, and the semiconductors require thermic condensate, which we have 9 of, and nitrogen salt, which we have none of. So that means the next thing on our list we're going to need to do is to make nitrogen salt and enriched carbon. And that's why we've been processing chlorine now. So one of the ways that you can construct, let me put these resources back so they're not cluttering up our inventory. Now, one of the ways that you can construct your enriched carbon and your thermic condensate and what's the other one? Your nitrogen salt is by using these gases here. So we're going to need sulfurine for the condensate. Actually, we don't even need that much sulfurine because we're only 1 thermic condensate short. So we'll just take 250. But we are going to need a stack of radon, a full stack, a stack of 1,000, and a stack of 1,000 nitrogen. Now, normally, this would only be able to make 4 enriched carbon, because it's 250 radon per, but given how difficult these gases are to gather, or not really difficult but time consuming, we're going to be trying to make the most out of them that we can. And in order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to put 250 radon in here, which you can see you can turn the nitrogen into a horrible conversion if you need to. But that's not what we're going to do. Instead, we're going to mix it with chlorine, and on top of that, we're going to put in condensed carbon. And that gives us enriched carbon at 100-to-1 ratio of radon, which that's really good. That's better than twice what the normal building rate is. The only problem is, it's not really a huge problem, but it takes a little bit of time. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually cut back the amount of chlorine that we have here because we don't need that much. But we did take out too much condensed carbon, actually. There, 150, 150. Still makes 2. It's not a problem. And wouldn't you know it, it's the exact same conversion rate for nitrogen salt. So if we take our chlorine and we say, hey, here's 100 chlorine and here's 100 condensed carbon, boom, you get 2 nitrogen salt. That's going to enable us to really make the most out of what we've gathered so far. Instead of feeling like we have to gather 2.5 times more than we want, we can just use this technique here and make it stretch much better than normal. So let's put 150. You don't even need 150 in there. That's really just, I'm putting that in there just because. And as you can see here, we're going to get all of these spinning up. This one we're going to have to, at some point, we're going to have to pull the trigger on this thermic condensate, only because we don't need a lot of it, but we need one, right? That's what we determined. We're short on one of them, I believe, because we need 10 total. Yep, and we have 9. So let's go ahead and we'll just produce one for now. And here's our 2 nitrogen salt, which we're going to take into our inventory. And then next we're going to add more nitrogen to the stack, and boom, we're going to make 2 more. Same thing over here. So it looks like the nitrogen salt actually constructs a little bit faster. We want to make 2. The enriched carbon seems to be taking a little bit longer. But we can start with the nitrogen salt, making our semiconductors. There we go. So next up, for the superconductors, we need the enriched carbon. And for more semiconductors, we need 5 more nitrogen salt. So we've got 4 more in production. Yep, there's 2. So then now all we have to do is say, hey, make 1 more. There we go. Thermic condensate, you can see, takes a little bit. There's our enriched carbon coming due now. So let's go ahead and let's keep this rolling. We're going to queue up some more of this. So you can see it takes very little chlorine and condensed carbon to actually make this process work. So we probably didn't need as much as we made, but I didn't want to run out. And I don't think we need any more nitrogen salt beyond that for now. So at this point we're missing 1 nitrogen salt. It should be here, right? No, so we need 1 more nitrogen salt and 1 more thermic condensate. That's what we need. Alright, well here's our thermic condensate. And I think we're out of nitrogen on us, which means we're going to have to combine these. So let's go ahead and we'll put this stuff back in our inventory. And at this point, we'll add the nitrogen here, yep, and make 1 more nitrogen salt. And then we're going to need to process some more enriched carbon again. We're going to need 10 total. So if we take this right on here, we stack it up, and we say make 2 more. That's 4, 8, so then we'll need 1 more stack of enriched carbon. And the easiest way to do that, since we already have chlorine and condensed carbon over here, is just to take the sulfurine out and throw in a stack of 100 radon, which we actually should be able to right, we need 50 from this one. See how that works? Because we have that like remainder of 50, and we need to take 50 out of this one. So it actually doesn't do you any favors to put a whole stack in there, because in the end you need to have multiples of 100, not with the extra 50 in there. Okay, and that'll get 6 enriched carbon going. That being said, we should have our final nitrogen salt over here, right? So we grab that. And again, it does take a little bit of time, for sure, but the benefit is we're getting a lot more for our resources. We're trading the time of having to wait for the atmosphere harvesters to fill up, and then and then converting them, which is tremendous. Not to mention the whole benefit of laying out our refiners like this was to process multiple things at once. So now we can start planning ahead, because once we get the enriched carbon, we start making these the superconductors, then we can start making the quantum processors, and that is half of all of the good things that we want to make. So now we can start looking at, what does a fusion igniter take? Well, it takes a portable reactor. Okay, portable reactor is liquid explosive and fusion accelerant. Well, we already have liquid explosive because it's made from acid and unstable gel, and we have 6 acid at our disposal. Now, unstable gel is actually as simple as 200 cactus flesh, so we're going to go ahead and start making some of those right now. The quickest way to do that is going to be just to grab a stack of it now, and let's start processing it into unstable gel. So we'll make 5, and then over here, change that to liquid explosives by 5. And we've already got 4, so that's 9. So we make 1 more. All right, let's take out the stuff to make 1 more. Because if we can make 1 more unstable gel, then we can make our 10th liquid explosive. We can put the rest back. Alright, there you have it. So now we have liquid explosives. The other half of the portable reactor is the fusion accelerant, which is organic catalyst and nitrogen salt. So we already know we're going to need more nitrogen salt. What makes the organic catalyst, though? Thermic condensate and enriched carbon. So what we're looking at is another round of everything. So, since that's what it's going to take, let's go ahead and get our gases squared away here. We know we're going to need 1,000 sulfurine in total. In fact, we can go ahead and put that 150 back. And then we're going to need 1,000 radon and 1,000 nitrogen. And this is going to get us 10 more of the fusion igniters, which, I mean, wow, that's going to be pretty significant. Alright, so let's take all this enriched carbon out of here. So we're going to need little bits of chlorine and condensed carbon kind of scattered all over the place. Now what we're going to do, because we've learned that the enriched carbon takes the longest, is that's what we're going to make first. Nope, no, not with the 50, but we're going to do it in multiples of 200. So we're just going to go right on down the line here. We really don't need as much chlorine and condensed carbon as we've placed into these, but we're going to leave it for now. Because as long as all 5 refiners get placed out here. There we go. So for this one, we're going to do chlorine, and then over here, the condensed carbon. Sure. And then 1 more. And this one, we have all these odd remainder stacks that I guess I could have condensed in my inventory, but it works out just the same. We're making 2. Now we have 10 enriched carbon, boom, in the works. And we should have 10 on us, 5 and 5, and that is for our quantum processors. So let's begin that process now for the superconductors here. No. There's 10, and now quantum processors. Boom, boom, boom. That is how you do it. Now again, the iridesite and the geodesite is only going to be used as we're making the final products, but as we're focusing on this iteration of making fusion igniters, I'm trying to use up our geodesite. In the end, I don't think it matters. We have a big stockpile of both, but these are the very difficult things to make as they require a lot of aronium, lemium, grantine, all these other weird alloys. So in essence, since we don't need these, because we have so many of those, we can start selling these and opening up inventory space here. Because really, what's holding us back more than anything are the nitrogen salt, the enriched carbon, and the thermic condensate. So these are the things we're going to start looking for when we hit up supply depots, because we are going to start looking for supply depots now. Let's see, these should be moving right along here. Getting pretty close. I think I will go ahead and sell one stack of grantine. It's not really doing us any favors to have this much of it. It is just taking up inventory space. $100 127,000 units. Really not that much of anything, but... So we'll take our enriched carbon, and then from here, we're going to change it to... I'm not actually sure if it's the thermic condensate that takes longer, or the nitrogen salt, so, but we have to do it all. We do have to do it all, so... And as long as we have 40 condensed carbon in here from here on out, we're going to be good, because we're only making four of each item for the rest of what we need. Now again, we could use the refiners upstairs, and in fact, I had originally sort of intended that that would be the case. However, the problem becomes that then you have to split your chlorine and your condensed carbon up even more, and you have to be, you know, a lot more accurate. And so because these don't take as long to process as I had anticipated, the enriched carbon seems to take the longest. These other ones actually refined fairly quickly. So I don't necessarily want to spread everything out, because look, we're already over here, okay, the thermic condensate takes a little bit. Maybe I spoke too soon. We do have enough chlorine and condensed carbon that we can go ahead and start spreading these out, but up here we have 6 refiners, so I guess we might as well use them, right? So if it's going to take 2, then that means really we don't even need that many. Like 50. And then for the chlorine, it's sort of the same thing. We only need not even 50. By the time we get these all set up, I bet the ones down there will be ready to go. Maybe not. Nitrogen salt goes fast though, so might be done around the same time, potentially. And again, what this is doing, the benefit of this, even though it's a little bit of sort of manual processing, you might think to yourself that, you know, this really isn't worth it. There's a lot of minutia manipulating these resources and the time that it takes to process. And if that's what you decide, you know, then I salute you. There's nothing wrong with just crafting the items in your inventory. It's a little easier, but then you will have to spend a little more time waiting for your atmosphere harvesters to gather up. And if you're doing this in bulk, it's actually going to take you, you know, more time to fill up and then come back. Actually, so this, again, you're getting 250% better exchange from these atmospheric gases to the items that you need. So, and look, this nitrogen salt's already done. So I think we're just going to come back over here and plug in 200 more. And then same thing here. Now, normally I would do this off camera, and in the future I likely will do this off camera, but I wanted everyone to see my process. It's not something I created, obviously. You can find this on, there's various charts and wikis, but I thought that it was a pretty neat process to actually get more out of these resources than you normally would, sort of to make them stretch. Because if we had tried to make 10 of these, what are they called? Drawing a blank. Fusion igniters. I knew that. I should have said that. I thought that was the intermediate device. What's the now I'm gonna have to, fusion accelerators, fusion igniters. Okay. If we wanted to make 10 fusion igniters, it actually would have taken a lot longer than what we originally had, because we would have only had the resources to make like 4 of them, because it would have taken maybe 5, because we have another 1,000, so it would have taken 1,000 nitrogen just to make 4 quantum processors, and then 1,000 nitrogen just to make 4 portable reactors. And in this way we turned 1,000 into 10. So pretty good exchange. Well worth it in my opinion. Your mileage may vary. However, I humbly accept these terms, and as such, you're about to see something pretty cool. So from here, we're going to go to that organic catalyst, because that's what we need, right? There's our 10 organic catalysts. From there, we're going to go to fusion accelerant. From there, we go to the portable reactors. And then from there, to the fusion igniter. And look at that. We used up some of that geodesite, which is another reason why I ended up processing some iridesite. So at this point, I could very easily off camera do another round, harvest more gases, and then do the same thing with the stasis devices and crush a lot more iridesite. So in order to make those, we would have to go through the process of creating our quantum processors. Only after that, we would be going for living glass, which is our that's going to take our gamma weed, and then of course the cryo pump, which is hot ice and thermic condensate, and hot ice is enriched carbon and nitrogen salt. So you're starting to see that sort of trend of nitrogen salt, enriched carbon, and thermic condensate being necessary for just about any of these devices that you want to make. So the question that you have to ask yourself before you decide whether or not to set up a process like this is whether or not you want to get 4 of 1/2 of these. Basically, if you have 2,000 of each atmospheric gas, do you want that to turn into 4 fusion igniters or 10? 4 stasis devices or 10? It's pretty easy, I think, to come up with the right answer is to say, well, we want 10. Now at this point, we're sort of stacked for money. Like this is, that's 124,800,000 units if you get the actual value in the exchange, and that's, so what, two stacks of 5 is even more than that. Oh gosh, that's 156 million units plus 46 more plus another 78 million plus another 31 million. So now we're rich. Effectively, we don't have a need for money. I'm not going to sell them here, even though this is an opulent place, because we're going to talk about where the best place to get the most trade is for us. And I think we are going to need to sort some of this out. So let me put the chlorine there, the condensed carbon, the oxygen, right, and then We'll just put this extra chlorine down here. So we'll need some more condensed carbon. Ultimately, we didn't really clutter our stuff up too much. The biggest thing that we did was we drained our little storage resources here, and we didn't even have to use... I mean, we didn't even have to use really these metals. In fact, to be quite blunt, you don't have to use those metals. Those metals are sort of not needed for these high-end manufacturing items, unless you have to make your geodesite and your iridesite, because I'm pretty sure... Yeah, geodesite is dirty bronze, herox, and lemium. So dirty bronze is pyrite, herox is ammonia, lemium's uranium, and on and on and on. But if you manage to come up with a lot of iridesite and geodesite, which, I mean, I don't know if it's just luck, but I'm swimming in this stuff as you've seen, then you really don't need those ores. But should you run out of those items, then you will need those ores. So really it just comes down to the gases and the plants are the major line of what's holding us back, and not even specifically the frost crystals. The big things that hold us back are solanium from the solar vine and the star bulbs. Those are used at the higher ratio to their counterparts. And then the other one that really gets us is the fungal mold, which again, I pre-constructed the acid using the fungal mold off camera. But should you decide that you want to construct the way I just constructed, you will need a lot of fungal mold, as it's 600 fungal mold per piece of acid. So we might actually change our storage to be a little less ammonia and a little more fungal mold, or I might just off camera produce it again. I don't know if we're going to find ourselves at a point where we need money in the near future, being as that our starships are pretty much maxed out. As far as I've got the starships I want for the time being, most of this money is going to go towards keeping our eye out for a nice freighter, a large freighter after a space fight, and then also buying resources. I think we need to call our explorer down, because we're going to be looking for a place to trade. Alright, let's go ahead and punch out of the atmosphere. I know I talked about potentially doing an underwater base, but we're going to save that spot. We're going to come back to that. For now, we're going to talk about where to make the most money. So you've refined your pieces. So what we're looking for now is down here at the bottom left where it says the economy. It's not so important what type of economy it is. It's not so important whether it's opulent or developing, or that doesn't matter. What matters is the number behind the cell. Generally, the higher that number is, the better you're going to do selling in that economy regardless of the type that it is. Now it can go up to 80. So obviously this 70 here is a pretty good one. Hold on, I saw a 70. There's a 70.9 at a blue star with water. That's intriguing. Just one planet though? Maybe. We'll lock a waypoint on that, but we're going to keep looking. There's a 77, and it looks like a yellow star with water, 3 planets. I think that's the new high score to beat. And at this point, we're really just looking for a place to make the money. We're not... Oh, there's another one at 77. 3 planets. Would be nice if we could go to like a blue star or a green star to look for some mega exotic planets, but I fear that's going to have to be something we do exclusively without trying to trade, because we're going to need to go to one of these uncharted systems like this one. Look at that. I bet there's some cool planets in that system, but unfortunately that's going to have to wait because we need to make money. So we're going to jump right over here. Excellent. So, what's the planet right in front of us? An isotopic planet. Overseer. Warp 60 times. Very nice. Look at that bright lime and teal nebula. Ooh, it changes colors. Look at that. There's like a demarcation line in the nebula, where it shifts from like green to blue. Exciting. Okay, so we have an isotopic planet. We got our data injection for this jump. What about this planet? A breached planet. Alright, I guess let's go ahead and initiate comms with this pirate. Your units or your life. So we can give them 400,000 units, and they'll be on their way. I mean, I can't abide that. No, because we're in our... This is why I took the exploration ship. That on top of the economic scanner. Alright, hostile ships approaching. I've got some pretty good weapons, I don't know if you're aware. They're still trying to get over to me. They're like, wait, he backed up. Hold on. What are you guys doing over there? Oh, here they come. Jeez. Yeah, you think? Where's the other ones? Oh, I wanted all their cargo. I can't find the other one's cargo. Okay, so we have a breached planet and... Ooh, what have we here? Well, we're of course going to explore every planet in this system, but I'm pretty sure a breached planet isn't going to have a trading post, and that's where we want to go. So trading posts are generally going to give you the best possible deals in a system. Better than the space station, better than your terminal you can put on your base or your freighter. Trade posts are going to give you the best. And we're going to do our own little comparison between people that land at the trade post and the trade post itself. So unfortunately I popped my scanner a little prematurely, but we're going to do some assessment as to whether or not it's going to be where this trade station is. So let's go ahead and scan. Trade post detected. And it is on planet. It's a little far away. Oh, it's a tropical planet. It's rocky. Look at that sky. These big clouds. This planet has a weird feel to it. Alright, let's come out of the atmosphere, though. So we can go ahead and pulse jump around to the trade posts. Still in the day side of the planet, up here in the mountains. Go ahead and slow down. Way up here in the mountains. I am a fan of the teal grass. It's unusually mild. I don't know how I feel about these orange skies. And look at these striations in the rock. It almost looks like there's a lot of cave formations here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to check as we come over here is we're going to check the Galactic Trade Terminal, which shows us getting... no, switch to the Starship. Ugh, of course not. We have to summon our ship. Of course we do. Go ahead and just land right over there. Thank you. Should be in range because of the teleporter mod. Stasis device, minus 8.8. That's not bad. That's 100 million for 7 of them. And the fusion igniter is 211 million, so we're looking at 311 million total. Minus 5 and minus 8.8. Let's check a random lander here. I don't think it's going to be as good, but maybe it is. Ah, we're too far away to sell them off of our starship. Of course we are. I should have known. Well, then I guess we'll just take them off of our starship then. Alright, round 2. This person's like, oh, are you actually going to trade with me this time? Maybe. It depends. What are you offering? Minus 11. Yuck. See how it's red? No good. No good. Fusion igniter, minus 2.9. That's really good. You can see that's almost 6 million more. When you're dealing with these high numbers, just a few percent is such a big deal. I think I'm going to take that at minus 2.9. That's really good. Boom. Look at those units climb. Ching, ching, ching. Alright, let's see what your neighbor here is going to give us. Minus 13 for the stasis device. Nope, that's okay. We always have the option of going back to the Galactic Trade Terminal. There's nothing wrong with that if we can't find a good deal from one of these people here. But it does look like they have the possibility of offering the better deals. Minus 12.1. Not a fan. So it seems like we would have to go to an economy that has these in higher demand. But I don't want to do that much work. What were we getting here? Minus 8.8. Alright, we'll check one more. One more ship. We'll see what they're offering. Survey says 11.8. Okay, so we're going with the minus 8.8. And with that, we've spent the last handful of episodes getting all of this squared away, and our prize at the end of it is 387,593,009 units. Not to mention the nanite clusters we pulled from our scientists and the platinum. I'd say we're doing fairly well. It's likely going to be time for us to go and get a better multi-tool, as well as starting to outfit our exosuit out so that we can start min-maxing our adjacency bonuses and getting ourselves squared away. Similar to how we've done here with the Katsadan's coup. As this ship is very much optimized, and I'm a huge, huge fan of it. Alright, that being said, that's where we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode. So this has been No Man's Sky, episode 153. Thank you so much for joining me. Our manufacturing days are going to be behind us for a bit, as now we have money, so it's time to go back on the exploration trail. We'll start with looking around this planet for a little bit in the next episode, but then we'll check out the system and likely make a determination of where we're going to go next. Spoiler, probably be to go hunt down a better multi-tool. I hope you've had a good time watching, because as always, I have had a good time playing. Do be sure to join us next time for more exploration. So we're going to say goodbye to our base for a bit, but until then, take care.